listeners, welcome to another great podcast. This is Satavisa. Startups are growing in India more than ever, and the tech industry has a major role to play in this boost up. To talk further on this matter, today we have with us Mr. Sachin Chawla, Vice President of MongoDB India and APAC. He joined MongoDB last month in February after a long and distinguished career at Amazon Web Services, where he held various leadership roles building the enterprise and digital native segments. Prior to that, Sachin served as the country manager of BMC software. At MongoDB, he will be responsible for building and scaling MongoDB across the APAC and Japan region. Mr. Chawla has more than 19 years of industry experience building high-performance teams, working with diverse portfolios across varied segments like global software, hardware, cloud, IT services, etc. Hello, Sachin. Welcome to Analytics Insight. It's great to have you here.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to talk to you, Satavisa, today. I'm looking forward to the conversation. Hello, everyone who've joined us today.
Okay. Now, can you please give us a brief about MongoDB and its services?
Yeah, sure. So MongoDB is, in a way, it's an application data platform, which basically helps developers develop applications faster. If I can put it in a very, very simple terms. MongoDB was actually developed by developers for the same reason that I just mentioned above. If I go into little detail, with the rapid digitization that we've seen across the globe, and thanks to AWS and Apple for the iPhone, which obviously kickstarted this whole process. The needs for modern applications have changed drastically. If you compare the applications a decade back or 2 decades back, the modern applications they have to be fast. Developer need an intuitive interface to develop those applications. They need to be scalable. It should be able to rapidly change, means iterate and continuously improve. Needless to say, the applications need to be available all times from any device that you want to access it. Obviously had to be secure. So our approach to the data platform comes from application. We really want to make the development of these applications and running of these applications very simple and easy, and make developers' life absolutely simple. So that's our approach. And if I can just break it down further, I think the 3 components of this data platform, for developers. The heart of it is our DocumentDB database, which are based on the document model, which obviously is very intuitive and something that the developers are very familiar with. So, it makes developers' life easier by developing those applications faster, and it's very intuitive. It's intuitive because in a document model, you store the information. So the information that is accessed together is actually stored together, compared to relational databases where you'll have tables and columns and then different tables, and then you join them, and then you have a complex schema to handle. None of that happens here, right? So it makes it very easy. It's also a database which is general purpose, which means you can use it for most of the use cases that are there in the market. You can handle all the data, all kinds of data. It's extremely scalable. You can horizontally scale. It's also available across the cloud platforms. You can also deploy on-prem. So plenty of options there. And it's also secure. So, so that's one piece of it, which is, as I said, as the heart of it. But then, we have added other capabilities to make the process of developing application really easy. And some of those capabilities are, for example, search. Every application needs search. So we have capability for search. You can also have analyzed data from disparate sources, using like a data lake. We also have intelligent tiering of data. So for example, one of our customer, Ludo King, used this tiering method where the inactive users, you don't need to keep them in the main database. You can you can intelligently tier and put them in some kind of a semi-warm database, and then bring them in when needed. And the last one is a platform for developing mobile applications, which basically means you can sync data across web, your web or mobile, and your edge and IoT, and so on and so forth. And obviously, you can also run serverless functions and event-driven functions, and so on and so forth. So if you put all of this together, this just makes life so easy for developers to develop applications and develop them fast and go to market fast.
That sounds really great. Now, I'm interested to know about your opinion on the growth opportunity that MongoDB has in India.
Yeah, sure. I think India is in very, very exciting place, very exciting phase of growth that MongoDB is also in. If you just look at the playground, I mean, we have like about 34,000 active startups. We have about 1,200 plus enterprises. There are about 300 GCCs, which are the captive centers in India. So all of these is a customer base which are looking to innovate, looking to transform. Startups, obviously, if you see last year, we had more than $38 billion funding, which is 3x more than 2021, itself. Startups are really pushing the envelope. They're cloud native, and MongoDB is also extremely popular in the startup community. You'll see adoption across sectors, within the startup community. I'll give you an example. We have customers like Zomato who use MongoDB. We have customer in gaming like Ludo King, in fitness like CureFit. We also have customers like Siracle who in blockchain. In fintech, customer like MyBillBook, which is India's #1 GST billing and accounting software. In EdTech, customer like Vedantu. So so on the startup domain, I think as I said, we're extremely popular, but there is so much to be done to help our developers make their life easier and give them programs to adopt MongoDB faster and use them to develop applications. But even on the enterprise side, I think every enterprise company is a software company today. Most of the companies are saying it because the way they are right now, they're kind of attacked by these startups, and it's almost like a piranha attack, where they're going and taking small services and doing better than enterprises in those services. So it's almost like a piranha attack, and every enterprise is looking to transform and developer productivity and the engineering skills and ability to develop faster, and is the key. And we see as more and more organizations move to cloud, which is happening, it's still at the tip of the iceberg. So as they move to cloud more and more, you'll see more and more of these enterprises realize the value of using a database like MongoDB, and start adopting MongoDB. A lot of them are going through that phase, and we feel that India is at an inflection point, and we have a tremendous opportunity to work with these customers and help them transform.
That actually sounds very interesting. On the similar note, I want to ask you, what is your perspective on India's robust startup ecosystem, and what kind of role the developers are playing in it?
Yeah, we are the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. We've seen so many companies in front of our eyes, innovate, change user experience, and also go through IPO. Number of them, Zomato, Nykaa, so they're the poster childs of this whole ecosystem. We also have a large amount of developers. We have about, going by estimates, depending on which source you pick, about 4 million software developers in India. And they are at the center of this transformation. It's them who are playing a pivotal role in changing customer experience, in defining new ways that a customer can interact and buy services, or and use services. Developers, I would say, also have moved from just sitting on a development team to boardrooms. They're actually making decisions. You will often see a lot of the CTOs of these startups actually are developers or have been developers in their life. So there's no, I don't have any doubt that they are there and making those decisions, because they understand that domain really well. So that's on developers. I think from our perspective, our core proposition remains: how do we make the development job easier for these developers? How can they make faster applications faster? And there's where I spoke about the whole ADP platform, and how that removes a lot of heavy lifting that typically a developer in the archaic world will have to do and go and develop applications. So that gets removed. The second piece we also focused is on skilling and helping our developers. So we also have we do a number of things. We run user groups across cities on educating on MongoDB. We also have a developer hub where the developers can come and ask questions and find support. We also have MongoDB University, where we have about 1.5 million registrations, of which about 360,000 are only in India. So I just see, all I would say is that I just see this just growing more and more, and developers coming to the center of decision making.
That's really amazing. Now, I'm really curious about how MongoDB is working with the developer community in India.
Yeah, so as I said, I think we work with the developers on a couple of areas. Across, so let me put it this way. I think the first one that we're working with developers is to on the scaling side and education side, working with them to really understand how MongoDB works and how can they work with us to adopt MongoDB. We also looking at scaling our sales and software engineering and support functions, so that we can reach out to our developers and work with them early enough on as they're developing this application, as they're making decisions on which database to use, so that we can talk to them and help them make those decisions really effectively and faster. And third, as I said, we have a number of programs that we run with respect to skilling, university, user groups that we're doing. But hey, let me also say that it's just the start where we are. There's a lot that we want to do. I'm just about 1 month in the system, but we have great plans on rolling out a number of things to be closer to developers, to help them and develop these applications and make decisions and choose the right version of Mongo and work with them. So you'll hear more from us as we go forward.
I'm really glad to hear that. Now, it will be great if you can give us some insights on how MongoDB is growing fast across various markets and geographies.
Sure. So, listen, if you've been following MongoDB, if you look at our Q3 earnings, Our Q3 earnings we came in about $227 million. We're growing at about 50%, year on year. We really have a very strong customer growth. We have we have about 31,000 customers, which is spread across 100 countries. This is as on October 31st. The Atlas revenue, which is our SaaS offering, is growing faster than the overall revenue, which is great news. So Atlas revenue is growing at about 84% year on year. It now represents, if I just look at the Q3 numbers, it represents about 58% of total Q3 revenue. We've had more than 200 million downloads of our software. And if I shift the focus on India a little bit, we already have more than 1,800 customers in India. We're growing at about 60% year on year on the customer base per se. Even on the headcount side, right, we have more than 400 people spread across India. We actually doubled our headcount during the pandemic. I spoke about MongoDB University and the amount of registrations, about 360,000 registrations. And as I said, we're growing across sales and solution architects and PS and support and research across all domains, in India.
That sounds amazing. Now, please tell us a little more about MongoDB's go-to-market strategy for the year ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think our go-to-market strategy, it remains around developers. It remains around decision makers. It remains around all the business owners who are on the center of transforming their business units and organizations. We look at the market, as I said, it's the startups, the enterprise alike. So we feel that the growth is there in both sides. So the couple of things that we working on, the one is around awareness and easy onboarding, and how do we work with customers that on both of them, and it's easy for them to adopt MongoDB and onboard whichever way they want to consume the software. The second is we growing our sales and engineering teams to stay closer to customers, to stay closer the way they buy, and provide them all the assistance that they need as they develop these applications and transform. Third is I spoke about scaling a little bit. So there's a lot that we want to do, we're doing already, and we want to do going forward. And then we also looking at developing stronger alliances. We already work with all the 3 cloud partners, which is AWS, GCP, and Azure. So we're working on developing, stronger partnerships and stronger go-to-market partnerships to help the customers. We're also looking at different other channels to reach and help our customers, so a little bit on the channel strategy. And I would say, lastly, we invest a lot on our people. We hire the brightest, and then we really help. We train them. We invest a lot of resources in training them and developing them. So that will remain the key, and that is also important for us, because that helps them or us to earn customers' trust. At the end, as I said, our goal remains, we want to make it incredibly easier for customers and developers to use MongoDB.
Great. Thanks for explaining it so well. Lastly, I would like to ask you about what kind of insights would you like to bring into MongoDB from your AWS background?
Sure. Let me put it this way. I think AWS and MongoDB are very good partners, and the partnership is just getting stronger and stronger. So it's really nice for me to, be here and work in that ecosystem and do whatever I can to bring that partnership to next level. I would also say MongoDB done really well in helping developers and being the database of choice for developers. But at the same time, we are at an inflection point, and from here on, I think a growth will be exponential. We're really looking to scale this and build mechanisms that can help us scale, keeping our customers at the center, give them the best of our services, what they need and how they want to consume, hire the right set of people to help those customers. I mean, my personal aim is to build the best tech team that we can here. Ultimately, the testimony will be customers, but hire the brightest, develop them, and build the best tech team. And at the end of the day, as I said, make it really, really incredibly easier for customers to adopt MongoDB the way they want to consume it. So that remains our ultimate aim. From Mongo's perspective.
That sounds amazing. I'm sure this is definitely going to help all of our listeners too. Thank you, Sachin, for joining us today. It was a pleasure talking to you. And I'm looking forward to seeing many more innovations from your end.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for talking to me today, and hope this was helpful.
Definitely.